Welcome to No Greater Love. I'm Joshua Borchi. No Greater Love is a show about making the world a better place and inspiring others to do the same. We'll be taking a look at the people and organizations that are doing amazing work.
In this episode, we feature the Langenfeld Foundation. A special edition of On the Road with Jason Davis starts us off.
For several years, these picturesque woods and fields around Red Wing, Minnesota have set the stage for the dreams of a dedicated and caring man and some very special Minnesotans. Young adults who struggle with physical and mental disabilities who would embark on exciting adventures here that would eventually lead them across the world.
Yet the sparkling enthusiasm and driving ambition of Paul Langenfeld of St. Paul have made what many people thought impossible happen.
48-year-old Mike Hansen was a premature baby and lost his eyesight soon after birth.
When you're ready.
Incredible as it may seem, this blind adventurer is out on this frigid winter morning to fire a shotgun at clay discs flying through the air. But not without help. An old college buddy from the University of St. Thomas, Paul Langenfeld,
Okay, a little higher.
acts as Mike's eyes.
Nobody should say, no, you can't do that. You have a disability.
Say right about there.
Paul!
Yeah, wait.
Fire!
Woo-hoo-hoo! You got it! All right. Way to go!
It makes me feel pretty good. I'd like to see a day when things like this are commonplace.
I hear brush him right up here along the spine. Yep, there.
That's exactly what Paul Langenfeld intends to do. Offer opportunities to people with special needs and disabilities to expose them to a brave new world of possibilities.
If life is a banquet, they deserve their rightful place at the table.
In 2006, Paul created the Langenfeld Foundation, named not for him, but his parents, Tony and Elizabeth, a social worker who's endured a lifetime of epilepsy.
How does Jane...
Paul's board of directors is made up of professionals, parents of children with disabilities, and this young college graduate. But he makes a point of including people with special needs too, like 45-year-old John Zerngebill, who has a mental disability, and 23-year-old Tom Sander, born with Down syndrome.
You keep an eye on me.
I will.
Okay.
Tom and John are among the beneficiaries of Paul's organization, and their opinion holds a lot of weight around here.
And we listen to them, and that's what decisions are based on.
Many times, Paul has watched his close friend discover the world around him.
What? Oh, look at that. Grab that. Look at what? What is that?
It's a deer.
Wow.
Sweet.
Moments like this are what lit the fire under Paul Langenfeld to create his foundation to help others like Tom.
Good for you.
Tom really loves Paul. It's like he just loves him like a brother.
What else would you like to do with
Paul Langenfeld has been Tom Sanders' personal care attendant for years, taking him to special places, bringing him close to nature, and allowing him to experience outdoor adventures.
The little extra things that make Tom's life a lot better.
What would you do without Paul?
I don't no clue.
See, this is gonna be your protection, okay? Ah, I'm sorry. Did I snap you? Okay.
Now, the Langenfeld Foundation is about to do for Tom and other adventurers with special needs something that is unprecedented for any organization in Minnesota and unheard of across the country.
Okay, way to go, Tom.
Yeah.
You did good. You did real good.
We want to take the world's thinking about people with disabilities and stand it on its head.
Tom Sander, John Zerngebill, and Tom's friend, 24-year-old Tim Judge, are headed halfway across the world to go on safari.
We're going to Africa, bud.
I know that.
We're going to Africa. So Tom, this is a termite mound.
Oh, jeez.
Here we have Tom Sander, born with Down syndrome, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And here's Tom Sander on the other side of the planet in South Africa. And I said, who could have imagined? What an amazing thing this is. By golly, we're really here.
An avid outdoorsman all his life, Paul Langenfeld wants to share his tremendous passion with people who would never be able to experience something like this.
Take the brakes off, you know, set no limits, and do all for them that your love allows you to do.
Are you happy or what?
Thanks to his groundbreaking efforts, Paul Langenfeld is being named the 2008 Humanitarian of the Year by the University of St. Thomas. But even as he brightens the world of others, he's come to realize that the life that's being changed the most is his own.
It's made me want to be a better man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks to Hrbek Outdoors, we get more stories.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Hrbek Outdoors. We're glad you're with us for a show that we're going to say is kind of going to the birds, big birds.
Really, really big birds. Canada geese. Seems, Herbie, our state's turned into somewhat of a wintertime resort destination spot for these critters, which is, of course, great news for hunters, but it's almost as if there's so many of these birds around that hunters can even sometimes take them for granted.
One foundation makes it its mission to provide outdoor activities for people with special needs. We are lucky enough to tag along on a goose hunt tailor-made for one special hunter in a special area world famous for its Canada geese.
One place you'll find a lot of geese is the city of Rochester. We'll take a closer look at why that is a little later on. But for now, Herbie's headed to that city to go on a goose hunting adventure unlike no other. And don't worry, we'll also take some time to enjoy the natural beauty of these magnificent game birds.
Make sure you tell clean jokes today.
Oh, yeah,
you're
I
on camera.
I know.
We got you mic'd.
I know.
So no dirty jokes.
Oh, no, I'm clean. I'm good.
The jokes might not be dirty, but there are still plenty of them when you go out goose hunting with John Zerngibbel. After spending just a few minutes with Johnny Z, I could tell he's one of those people who just appreciates life.
I used to have a goose call, but I didn't bring my goose call.
Here, goosey, goosey, goosey.
John is a developmentally disabled adult who's out hunting thanks to the Paul Langenfeld Foundation of Hastings, Minnesota. The foundation makes these outings happen for a simple reason. Its founder wants people with special needs to have the same opportunities as the rest of us.
They're marginalized by society. They're kind of left out. And for a lot of young men, particularly, regardless of their disability, they would love to hunt. Their dad might hunt, their brothers might hunt, and yet oftentimes they're told, well, you can't do that. And, you know as well as anyone, you never tell someone you can't do something.
Exactly.
You never tell them you can't do that, so don't even try. Give them the opportunity, open up more opportunities, and let the world stand back in wonder at what they can accomplish.
I've hunted in worse conditions before.
You ready to get your goose?
Wow. I love it.
Yeah. On this beautiful winter's day in Rochester, John's locked and loaded, armed with a gun that sets him up for all kinds of ribbing.
He cheats, though. He's got that big gun.
I'm not a kid anymore.
It's a fantastic setup here, and once the decoys are in place, everyone's ready for some action. Considering Rochester's abundant goose population, we're in prime position to bag some birds.
So, John, what about this goose hunting?
Well, we haven't shot anything yet. We're hoping to this afternoon.
We're comfy, though, aren't we?
But the geese have decided to be a little shy today, meaning I have the pleasure of chatting with John. I find out pretty quickly how excited he is about preparing to live on his own for the very first time.
I get to buy a place here, hoping to be on my own, so that's through my brother and few other people, so
helping you out. That's pretty cool.
I'm gonna spread my wings.
What turned you on to coming out here or to the outdoors? Is your dad a big hunter? Or
Yeah, my dad's a big hunter.
Yeah?
Yeah. He taught us kids well that you shoot it, you clean it, you eat it. You just don't mess around. You just don't leave anything lay.
What do you like about it out here?
It's great.
Yeah?
The weather's perfect. Like
Perfect.
Not no
It's
30
1
below.
degree. It's 1 degree above zero. It's perfect.
It's perfect. It's great. It's not nothing like last Saturday or Sunday. It was 30 below elk hunting. Shot my first elk, by the way.
As you might have guessed, John's a veteran hunter, having recently shot 3 animals in South Africa. A trip, once again, courtesy of the Langenfeld Foundation.
He struggled in the beginning, you know, which is understandable, but he never gave up. I think a lot of hunters would have just quit. And John kept plugging along, kept doing what he needs to do, and after some time, takes a wildebeest, takes an impala, takes a blaze buck, all of those things.
Despite the challenges that have come up, John is grateful for everything he has. He says it all started shortly after he was born.
When I was a little infant, I passed away for a while. And it's hard to explain, but I'm on my second time around.
You got your second chance going here, huh?
And I thank the Lord every day. It's really weird, but it just happened where I came back and
They said you're gonna make the best of it, huh?
Yep. So here I am, challenge, and I overcome it. Having a great time.
You know, he's held a steady job for 23 years. And even though he has mental delays and disabilities, he has defied his disabilities by not only being taught how to play guitar, but also by his work ethic, and then also with, you know, his hunting.
There's no roadblocks for you, though, is there?
No.
You go crashing through them?
Right now, I've accomplished a lot in my life.
Right.
Hoping to be able to do that. Keep doing that more. Goose hunting is a passion. It's unpredictable. There's times where there's no geese. You can have more geese. You can shoot a lot of geese.
Really doesn't make the day any better, though, does it? Because you shot some more geese.
You know,
it's the people you're hanging out with.
Hanging out with, meeting new friends.
Yep. When you can meet new friends like John Zerngibble, it's been a pretty good day.
Isn't he a great guy? He's a great guy. I wish there were more people like John.
With these 2 shows, we got great stories and a sense of what the Langenfeld Foundation and the people behind it are all about. The Langenfeld Foundation strives to open hearts and open opportunities so people with disabilities can live life to the fullest. They hope to change society's thinking so that people with special needs will be seen as equals. This is accomplished through activities in nature, sports, networking with other organizations, and producing the TV show No Greater Love. Segments featured in this and previous episodes have showcased hunting trips with those who have disabilities, including veterans. There have been fishing trips as well. Fishing brings a great sense of anticipation, excitement, and a feeling of accomplishment. Individuals with special needs have fished for everything from sunfish on local lakes to salmon on Lake Michigan. Summer camps, which help young adults with Down syndrome experience the joys of life and friendships. The foundation has helped regularly at Camp Wingspan. These are memories that will truly last a lifetime. College students from the University of St. Thomas volunteer as personal trainers to help those with disabilities. The Langenfeld Foundation has bowling leagues year-round, giving people with disabilities a regular activity of fun, social interaction, and pushing themselves to improve. Finally, there is no greater love. Our goal is to showcase the moments of life that make the world a better place for all. It features stories about people with special needs who defy limitations to do amazing things, as well as the individuals and organizations who make it happen.
Hello to all my friends at the Langenfeld Foundation dinner to benefit wounded soldiers. Minnesota is a state where we wrap our arms around those who serve and sacrifice, and I want to thank the Langenfeld Foundation for your inspiring efforts to support our injured veterans. I also want to acknowledge Congressman Klein. I know he's one of your featured speakers tonight, and as you all know, he is a distinguished veteran himself. He and I have worked together on a number of issues for the Guard and Reserve and our active duty soldiers in Minnesota. This isn't a partisan issue. We work together. A few months ago, I had the privilege of visiting Vietnam with Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham. It's something that I will never forget. We visited the lake where Senator McCain had been shot down. We visited the cell block where he had been held in captivity for 5.5 years. As you know, Senator McCain has come back to Vietnam many, many times. And he's something of a rock star there because they know that he comes because he's interested in improving the relations in our country. So there we are walking around the prison, and we have 100 media behind us there to see him. And we have this very sweet Vietnamese guide, and she comes to this, and she's, you know, the communists are still in power there, and there's a picture, this big blown up picture of GIs in captivity, and there's some with Christmas trees, there's some playing chess, some playing volleyball, and McCain kept whispering to me, "I don't quite remember that. I don't quite remember that." Well, what I took away most of all from that trip was that incredible sense of duty that Senator McCain has to our country and to the values that make our country great. And you all have that sense of duty too. Every man or woman who's been in uniform shares that sense of duty. I know Congressman Klein does, and I know all the veterans here tonight do as well. I've seen our soldiers' commitment to our country firsthand when I had the privilege of going to Iraq and meeting with many of them. I can tell you they didn't complain about the heat or the equipment or the food. I just heard two things. The first is who's winning the state hockey tournament. It was in March. And the second was, could I call and let their families know that they're okay? And I can tell you, I talked to a lot of moms when I got back to Minnesota, and you heard about the sacrifices their families had made. From the ridges of Gettysburg to the beaches of Normandy, from the hills of Korea to the jungles of Vietnam, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the sands of Iraq, Minnesota soldiers have made our state proud. Just as they have fulfilled their duty, so must we. Our country has a responsibility to do right by our soldiers and our veterans, just as each one of you has done right by our nation. When we ask our young men and women to fight and to die for this nation, to get injured fighting for freedom, we make a promise that we will give them all the resources they need to do their job. And we also make a promise that when they get home, we will take care of them. When they signed up for war, there wasn't a waiting line. And when they come back to the United States of America, especially if they're injured and they need health care, they need a job, they need to get an education, there shouldn't be a waiting line here. And that's what's so great about the work that the Langenfeld Foundation does. To truly honor our men and women who have served, our nation must continue to fulfill its obligation to all of our veterans, whether they completed their service last year or decades ago. In Washington, I'm committed to make sure that our nation does better by our veterans. In recent years, Congress gave the greatest increase to veterans funding in the history of the United States. That was during the last 2 years, including new funding for soldiers' Medicare. Last year, we passed the GI Bill for the 21st century. It was the right thing to do, and it was long overdue, because when our soldiers fought for us and they come home, as I said, they shouldn't be waiting in a line. We also passed wounded warrior legislation to make sure our injured veterans get the best care possible from the battlefield to when they return home. And we increased funding for research and treatment of traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder, the signature physical and mental injuries of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Finally, we expanded Minnesota's pioneering Beyond the Yellow Ribbon program. That's something we did with Congressman Klein and Congressman Walz, as well as Senator Coleman, and I headed it up in the Senate. The idea is to expand this program, not just in Minnesota. We work with the senators from Georgia, and we work with people all over our country. We must continue our efforts to ensure that all our nation's soldiers and veterans and their families get the care that they need. I'll end with a story. One time I stayed on a Friday night in Washington to speak to some of our returning World War II veterans that were there to see the monuments. And the next morning I took the first plane home to Minnesota, and it leaves at like 6 in the morning, and I was crabby and tired, and I'm sitting there with my coffee in Reagan National Airport reading the paper, and all of a sudden all the travelers, all of whom were tired and there early, were standing and clapping. And I thought, who could be here? You know, what's going on that this whole airport of tired people is standing up and clapping and cheering? And so I got up and I looked, and it was a group of World War II veterans. They had been coming back again with one of these honor flights to see the World War II monument and to be together. And every single one of them, they were from Detroit, were in wheelchairs, and they were being wheeled off. And all of a sudden, spontaneously, everyone in that airport stood and applauded. And as those guys were being wheeled off, there was not a dry eye on any of them. And I thought to myself at that moment, we've got to treat all our veterans this way every day. Tonight we recognize all the service members who have sacrificed on our behalf. They have built and protected America's greatness. In turn, we are truly a grateful nation. To all the veterans, thank you for your honor and your heroism, and for your duty and for your dedication. May we always remember and remain grateful to you. And all of you have made America safe and strong. Thank you. Thank you to the foundation. Enjoy your evening.
There is so much that can and should be done to make this a better world. We don't have to wait for others to get involved. Any of us can reach out and touch a life in need in a positive way. For information on how you can make a difference, contact this show or the organizations featured. They can get you connected with what they're doing or get you in contact with someone so you can make this world a better place. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you for the next episode of No Greater Love.